Hi, Sins of the Father, Chapter 3. The title Deadbeat Dad is oftentimes given to black men. We hardly hear anything about men of other races being deadbeat dads. Now, being a deadbeat knows no race or gender. They can also be white, Hispanic, Asian, etc. Now, most people like making references to the Maury show because the assholes appearing on the show are black men and women just making asses of themselves. They're out there for publicity, and they're willing to degrade themselves as black men, treating it as if it was a game. Now, true, there are far too many deadbeat dads from the African American communities, but they get more than their proportionate share of publicity. There are many black men doing a great job of raising and caring for their children, and there's also many who assume the sole responsibility due to women on drugs, deadbeat moms, and death, etc. The death of a female parent. Now, where are the news articles and talk shows regarding this subject? Now, that's interesting because plenty of black men are great fathers, and in some cases as good as they're allowed to be. And when I make that statement, as they're allowed to be, when the woman is a controlling factor of your child and she pretty much hates your guts, you can only do what you're allowed to by these women and by the laws that the law men that they run to. And speaking of law men, I mean the courts, the justice system, etc. Now, as stated before, this is a terrible emotional issue that creates revenge, bitterness, and individuals losing out on all sides. The fathers, the mothers, and sadly, so sadly, the children. Ladies, you seem to forget a father has the same rights as you do. Exactly the same rights. Because without that father, there would be no child to manipulate. And unless he's found by others than you to be unfit, then a father has every right to be with his child. Again, just as you do. Now, let me ask, why are there so many vindictive women in this world who work so hard, harder than anything else that they've ever done in their lives, to make sure they prevent the fathers from parenting their children? I mean, and this is a true fact. They put more effort and more emotion into making sure that this man, you ain't seeing your motherfucking kid today. I'm gonna make your life hard. You left me. They put more work into doing this than in their jobs, and then in taking care of the homes, and pretty much even in taking care of the children. So women, stop being so evil, so vindictive and controlling. Oh yeah, and did I forget angry? Because you are all of the above. You are, if you are not allowing fathers to exercise their rights to be fathers. I'm only speaking for those fathers who welcome the challenge of parenthood. I'm not speaking for the assholes who truly are deadbeats, don't want nothing to do with their children, and don't care if their children lives or dies or eats or whatever. I don't need to know what my child's doing, what their upbringing is, who's in their lives, what men are abusing them. I am focusing only on the men that are intent on making their children happy. Now, I can fully understand a woman's anger and resentment if the man walks away from a relationship and wants nothing to do with his child. Then, as I always state and I always say, he's a complete ass, and I will be the first to tell him. But if he leaves her and still wants to be in his child's life, I mean an active part, there are, as I keep stating, vindictive women want revenge, and they do everything to stop that too. These women, and I quote again, these women are not fit to be mothers. You are the women who work hard to manipulate laws and men and your child to keep the father separated from his child. The shame is not upon him, but you. Now, before I conclude, I just want to leave you with this scenario. A man is living with a woman and fathers two children. Granted, the man is cheating. Yeah, he's doing a lot of things, but he comes home and he cares for his young daughters and he loves them. But things aren't working out with his woman, so they separate. But in the course of separating, he finds out she slept with one of his closest buddy. The man is known for being wild and violent, and at that time, he goes home hoping to find some answers. Not intent on being violent, but to merely find some answers. But before that man can actually truly seek the answers or acquire the answers, this woman ups and leaves. He comes home only to find the woman gone with his young children. He has no idea where they went. Now, instead of talking to him and saying, well, you weren't doing this, you weren't doing that, and in a weak moment, you know, I did this and I'm sorry, you know, and we don't have to be together, but I would like you to be in your child's life. You don't hear from this woman until 20 years later. And she claims to have notified the man's mother and tells her if he wants to see his children, to just call. Now, this is a message he never got, whether, you know, it was due to the mother or if she actually sent it. Yet child support notifies him regarding lack of payment. What payment? For who? This woman runs away with this man's 2 daughters. Now, 20 years later, the daughters are grown and do not consider this man their father. What has he done wrong? Why is he the one that has to answer the questions and suffer the degradation of being considered a deadbeat dad? You tell me, why are they angry at him? Was it misinformation? Now, in your opinion, is this man considered to be a deadbeat? What about the anguish and torment he has suffered and is still suffering, trying to get his daughter to love him and want him in their lives? He, you know, in the beginning, in essence, he had 2 sweet toddlers who loved him. And in the end, he ends up with 2 adults who seem to loathe him. For what? A woman who needed to satisfy her sexual appetite than to give her daughters a father to bond with? Now, I ask you, America, and whoever else this extends to, the far reaches of the globe, whatever, you decide. Was this man wrong? And is he truly considered a deadbeat? Well, you decide. And that concludes part 3 of Sins of the Father. Be on the watch out for part 4.